Hi, everybody. It's Dennis Daly, welcoming you to All Week Theater. Every week I take a classic old-time radio episode, cut it up into 5 pieces, and present it for your convenient listening pleasure. Now, during this 4th of July week, we go back to a broadcast from 1936, The Cavalcade of America, presented by the DuPont Company. Here is part 1.
Freedom, our dearest heritage, was won only after a long and determined struggle. And the document which sets forth our reasons for founding an independent nation did not spring into being spontaneously, as many think. Let us go back to a June evening in 1776. On a street corner in the metropolis of Philadelphia, a crowd has gathered. On the near side of the street, 2 well-dressed middle-aged gentlemen and a young man stop to see what is happening.
Hardly an evening goes by without a gathering such as that one yonder. Go over and see what it is, Philip.
Yes, Father. Talking politics as usual, I suppose.
How will it all end, Mr. Dickinson?
Well, peacefully, I hope, Mr. Temple.
And I stand with our king. Like him, I have no patience with these fellows who are always shouting independence.
Perhaps if the king had a little more patience, these cries of independence would not be heard.
When did you join the ranks of the rebels, Mr. Dickinson? I thought you were one of the staunchest supporters of reconciliation.
I am, Mr. Temple. But I admit that our colonies have been sorely tried.
Sorely tried. Bah! This cry for freedom from the mother country is only from the riffraff. It's not popular in the best circles.
Well, I can't agree with you there, sir. There's General Washington, Dr. Franklin.
Washington is a fire-eater and Franklin is a supreme egotist. I'm speaking of men like
yourself, sir?
Well, yes. I owe allegiance to my king, and I brought my son up to think as I do.
Father?
Yes, Philip?
It's a man handing out pamphlets. I brought you one. It's called Common Sense.
Common sense. Something that's needed in these colonies.
I've seen the booklet. It's a dissertation on independence and the rights of man.
Revolutionary twaddle, eh? Well, it should be burned.
It's well written. And though I don't agree with the author, it's worth reading.
Who wrote it?
I don't know. Some say John Adams. Others say Dr. Franklin himself.
The whole Continental Congress ought to be strung up. With a few exceptions, such as yourself, Mr. Dickinson.
Oh, I'm not the only delegate who wants reconciliation with the Crown. Some of us think that's where our interests lie. Last year there was a plan to introduce a resolution for independence, but I managed to save it all.
But your Congress sent that renegade Washington to Massachusetts to take charge of a force of rebels.
Not rebels, Mr. Temple. Englishmen like ourselves who are proud of our rights.
I'm an Englishman, too, and our discussion seems to have attracted a crowd of your freedom-loving citizens.
Tories! Oh, hold on, boys! Mr. Temple, Mr. Dickinson. He's a member of the Continental Congress from our own colony. He has always been fair.
Grats. Well, I'm surprised to see you in such company. A bricklayer should build, not destroy.
Wait a moment, gentlemen. Don't let's have any argument. The watch will be along shortly, and
then I suppose we'll be arrested and shipped to England for trial. He wants reconciliation with the king.
I've seen the petitions he writes. We're loyal subjects to the king, dutiful children.
Why don't you have you this pamphlet on common sense, Mr. Dickinson? My answer will be made at the proper time. I'm not against you. Truly, I'm not. I'm as fond of my country as you are. I sympathize with her ills. I only differ with you regarding the remedy.
The remedy?
I can't help feeling that if the colonists could convince the people of Great Britain that we're in earnest about our rights and willing to defend them, the British government will back down as they did in the case of the Stamp Act.
Well, why argue with them, Mr. Dickinson? Traitors should be sent to prison.
Traitors?
Mark my words, this country will never be free of British rule.
Never! Hey, listen to Tom Paine.
Thank you, Grat. This bickering won't get you anywhere. If you're looking for a fight, I'm sure that General Washington will welcome you as recruit. Go on about your business. I want to talk to this gentleman myself.
Yes, go along, all of you. Go. I thank you, sir. I'm in your debt. Did I catch the name as Paine?
Yes, sir. This is Thomas Paine, Mr. Temple. An Englishman by birth and an American by adoption.
You handle those curs superbly, Mr. Paine.
Don't call them curs, sir, lest they turn on you and bite. I felt I must send them away because I am more or less responsible for their overzealous demonstration.
How so, sir? Was this This treasonable booklet called Common Sense that made them yelp at their betters.
This booklet, sir, was written to excite the minds of the people. It was conceived as a protest against tyranny and oppression.
You are familiar, then, with this seditious pamphlet?
I wrote it, sir.
What?
And my intervention in your behalf was to ask you to read it. You and your son.
I'll do no such thing. Nor Philip.
Yes, Father, I'll read it. Perhaps it will explain to you why there are men like these who have just left us.
What do you mean, sir?
We have men like these, sir, because of men like you. Good night, gentlemen.
There were three schools of thought in the colonies: the Tories, or Loyalists, the Moderates, who sought reconciliation, and the Patriots, who desired separation. But all the Patriots were not as aggressive in their demands as the group that threatened Mr. Temple. We find representatives of two of these schools talking together as the Continental Congress assembles on the 7th day of June, 1776. John Dickinson, whom we have met, is speaking with John Adams, one of the delegates from Massachusetts.
Good morning, Mr. Adams.
Good morning, Mr. Dickinson. I think we have a surprise for you today.
Indeed.
Last year it was your turn. Congress adopted your petition to the king, and I submitted. This year I trust you will give way with as good grace.
Well, what do you intend to...
You'll learn soon after Mr. Hancock calls us to order.
Take your seats, please, gentlemen. Good morning, Dr. Franklin.
Good morning, Mr. Dickinson.
May I sit with you and the other members of the Pennsylvania delegation?
With pleasure, sir.
What is Adams hinting about? What are you planning?
What am I planning?
You know you're deeply interested in every move Congress makes.
I'm interested in everything that goes on in the world, Mr. Dickinson.
Oh, yes.
Congress, please come to order.
So join me next time when I take a classic old-time radio episode and split it up into 5 easy-to-digest pieces, right here on All Week Theater.